Hey everybody, it's Sparkly Sarah Marie. I'm back. This is going to be vlog number 2. So today I'm going to do like a little get ready with me makeup and kind of talk about long distance relationships because I'm currently navigating that. So let's get started. First, I'm just going to go ahead and clean my face with a wipe just because for me when I do my makeup I just want to make sure that I have a clean canvas. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that my face is clean, I'm going to go ahead and start my foundation. But as I said, this is going to be about long distance. So I actually met my boyfriend. We were both working at the same company January of 2024. And I'm no longer obviously working at the company because I was laid off, but he is still working there. And yeah, we met in January of 2024, and we've been friends for over a year, but we started dating around September of 2024, but we started off, like I said, as friends, so we really built our friendship up first before we really started dating, so that's allowed for a really positive platform for us. He is still in Florida, so AKA I'm back in Michigan, long distance, right? So we've been dating for about 6 months. We were kind of dating before we made it official. We just made it official back in September, so that's why the time frame might look a little bit less than 6 months to you. But for me, we started dating. It's been about 6 months. We were interested kind of like, I want to say like around, like I said, like September we actually made it official, but everyone kind of knew we were a thing. So anyways, my boyfriend's name is D, and like I said, he's in Florida, I'm in Michigan. I last saw him, I moved actually in December. So we've been 2 weeks so far doing long distance. It really hasn't been that long. I actually planned a trip to go see him. So I'm really excited about that. I feel like with long distance, what I'm starting to learn is it's super important to have like a routine. So like I get up in the morning and I text him and I say like good morning, like once I'm awake, and like we have like FaceTime calls, and we are constantly communicating. So I feel like communication is definitely like super important, especially when you're so far away. I also with starting long distance feel like honestly like making sure you have like that exciting next date planned for when like you are planning to go visit your significant other, because like if you don't have anything planned, then you're just going to be like rolling through each day like having really nothing to look forward to. So I feel like that's really important to make sure you really like have your FaceTimes planned out, communicate through text, have your calls planned out, and then also like make sure you have that date planned of when you're going to see them next. Next, I'm moving on to concealer here, but as I was saying, like texting, communication, when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed, that's all really important. Planning those FaceTime calls, making sure that you are making time for your significant other. Obviously, like he's still working and I'm not, so like I can be more accommodating to his schedule. And that can happen vice versa. Like if something was to happen to him, where he was busy, then I would have to be more patient, and then obviously if I get busy with something, then he's more patient. But just kind of learning that schedule of what works for you. Also on that same topic, I think it's like really super important when planning your trips. I would say that we're kind of like in the adjustment phase right now, and I call it that just because we're kind of figuring out what works for us as to like when we can plan times to go visit one another out of state. He's working, so most of the time for him it's probably going to be over a weekend. And you know, that will kind of depend for me when I get a job. But yeah, like make sure you plan those dates, like so you have something to look forward to, and you're taking turns and everything's balanced as far as like going to see one another. making sure that communication is consistent, making time for your person. Like, communication is important in relationships regardless of long distance, but I feel like especially when you're long distance, like telling your significant other, like, hey, I'm going to the gym, or hey, I'm going out with friends. It's better to over communicate in a relationship than to under communicate, just because when things get lost in translation, that can be very frustrating when you're far away. So I just feel like over communication, it's not that like you're worried about trust or anything. It's just more so like feeling like you're a part of their life even though you're far away. That's how it feels for me anyways. So yeah, communication through text morning and night, FaceTiming, making sure you're calling them. We FaceTime like almost every day, so like that's a huge thing that I value. But also, like I said, so far, even though I've only been doing this for a couple weeks, I feel like making sure those trips are planned out are super important for me. And also having the mindset, I feel like this is kind of the last thing I really want to touch on, is just knowing that long distance doesn't have to be for forever, right? So, we've only been together for 6 months, but, we have talked about what the future might look like, moving in together and getting an apartment together. So obviously, like, we're not both working at the same company and we aren't currently in the same state, but that doesn't mean like down the line we couldn't work something out. Moving in together and kind of seeing how that works as well. But having those important conversations allows for the relationship to keep growing. And I think it's important to really like make sure that, again, like you're making time for your person, even if it's like, everybody gets busy, but you make time for what you want to make time for. So I feel like text them in the morning, text them at night, text them whenever you feel, you need that connection. Obviously everybody needs their own space, but I like to make sure I'm connected with my person throughout different times during the day, even, just sending a small text saying, hey, like, I'm thinking of you, those all make a huge difference. So, again, we kind of touched on a lot that are important to me, but texting, calling, mainly for me, FaceTime calls are really important. And again, planning those trips. But I feel like so far what I've learned, the most important tip about long distance is patience, because there's a lot that he's dealing with that I'm not there, so I might not understand. He can communicate it to me over the phone, but I'm not there to really see what he's going through, just like he's not here to see, exactly what I'm going through. So I think it's like really important to make sure that you are being compassionate and understanding towards your person, and just putting forth an extra effort to text them, to call them, to FaceTime them, planning your trips, making sure that you are taking time out of each day, even if it's 5 minutes, to just text them and let them know that you're thinking about them. I think it's super important. So yeah, like, I feel like that's just the basis of what I've learned thus far the last 2 weeks. Obviously, Valentine's Day is on Friday. My trip is not this weekend, so I will not be seeing him over Valentine's. Valentine's isn't big to him or I, so we've just decided to like celebrate when I am going to visit. With that being said, like, there are going to be times that, you have to compensate. It is long distance, so you might miss a holiday, or, you might miss a time that was important to you to really, like, celebrate with that person. And I feel like it's not about celebrating on a particular day. I know some people might be super disappointed compared to me, but for me, it's about any time that I get to spend with that person, I value. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'm super excited to go visit him here soon, and we will celebrate then. And it will be more special just knowing that I have that time with him. If you guys have any questions or any comments, leave it down below.